Hello and welcome to Telesur. This is From the South. I'm Carla Gonzalez. Let's begin. We begin in Ecuador. Thousands of students have rallied in Quito to protest against the massive budget cuts to public universities in the 2019 budget proposed by the government. The austerity measures come in a series of moves by the government of Lenín Moreno that has cut nearly $150 million from public education. Students are demanding a higher budget and ask authorities to sit at a negotiation table with the education sector. Our correspondent, Denise Herrera, brings us more from the student demonstration.
Hello, good afternoon. Students from Ecuadorian public and private university were marching today in Quito against huge education cuts presented in the state general budget presented by the Ministry of Economy, Richard Martinez, who confirmed and announced that there is a cutback on the budget, in the state budget. Approximately 145 million are contemplated for higher education. Students are demanding today that it represents a setback on education policy, and also they are calling to the authorities, they are calling to President Lenín Moreno to meet them, and they can be part of the discussion about this general budget. They try to talk with President Lenín Moreno, but the police stopped them. So it's all for now. Back to you at the studio.
Denise Herrera from Quito. Now to Mexico. A group of about 800 migrants has set out from Mexicali towards Tijuana to join the caravan already at the Mexican-U.S. border. While many in Mexicali were able to find room inside shelters, others were not so lucky. They are reportedly going to Tijuana in hopes of finding shelter while waiting on their asylum requests.
Get to Tijuana, even if we can get rides or at least get on the back of trucks, or maybe catch a bus and go bit by bit and see how we can help anyone who couldn't make it. The truth is that there is no room for us here in Mexicali.
The idea of the caravan was for all of us to stay together since the day we set out. They say that the meeting point will be Tijuana, not Mexicali. We are here because the shelters over in Tijuana are full.
And Tijuana's mayor, Juan Manuel Gastelum, has asked the Mexican government for resources to accommodate the various migrant caravans. In a radio interview, the mayor said that Tijuana needs police reinforcement plus 100 million pesos in funding to provide aid to migrants. Various social organizations from the United States and Canada have gathered in the Mexican town of Tijuana to show their support for the migrant caravan. Let's hear from our correspondent, Pablo Perez, who has more.
Well, we are now in downtown Tijuana, this multicultural and diverse border town between Mexico and the United States. And, well, we have seen so many different things happening in these last few days. And, well, contrasting with the violence that was visually present yesterday by a small group of radical extremists that expressed themselves with racism and xenophobic slurs directed towards the migrant community. Well, today there was a meeting of different non-social and civilian organizations, and also different churches that not only from here, from Tijuana, but also from the other side of the border, coming down from San Diego and Los Angeles, to show their solidarity and to praise the effort made by the migrant community of the migrant caravan. So we have the two different point of views in the same city, in the same area, and it seems that the people that want to respect the human rights of the Central American migrants is more present today than it was yesterday, and they are calling all the citizenship to action to show them that the people in Tijuana is not against migrants, and this is something very coherent with the nature of this city, where it's calculated that over 60% of the population comes from another state in Mexico or another country.
That was Paulo Perez from Mexico as we're following the migrant caravans. And after being temporarily closed down overnight, the border crossing of San Isidro has been reopened. Authorities say the crossing was closed to beef up security, with around 100 soldiers installing barbed wire along the crossing. And despite these measures by the U.S. government, new groups continue making the difficult journey north. Let's take a look.
From early morning, 300 people gathered at the Divino Salvador del Mundo Square to begin the dangerous journey towards the United States. Their primary reason for leaving their country are the lack of opportunities and the high level of violence.
What has us leaving our country, the nation where we were born and raised, is the fact that there is no work, there is a lot of poverty, and a lot of crime. So we are willing to take this risk in order to give our families a better future.
Marina Garay travels with two of her children. Her husband disappeared 2 months ago, and she has looked for him at hospitals, jails, and funeral homes. She says that her family has been threatened, and therefore she has decided to migrate. She wants to send a message to the US President Donald Trump.
Since my family was threatened, we left our house and we have been staying with our neighbors. While we wait to begin our journey, I want to tell US President Donald Trump to have mercy on Salvadorian families who are suffering.
This fourth caravan will go to the bus terminal, where they will board several buses to head towards the Guatemalan border. Social organizations have said that this will be a new form of migration.
From now on, they will migrate in large-sized caravans and groups because of criminal extortion and the high individual fees for the coyotes and narcos. We are now reaching $50,000 to be taken from El Salvador to Honduras, to Guatemala, in order to get to the United States.
According to this group of migrants, traveling in a caravan may prevent criminal organizations from making money by exploiting people. They say they feel more secure as part of a large group. This, despite the various government institutions which are trying to convince them to abandon their difficult journey.
The migrant caravan as it tries to reach north. Coming up, we have more stories, but you can follow us. We're on Twitter at Telesur English and my account, G Telesur. Give us a follow and some retweets. We'll be back.
And we just got word that the government of Ecuador is trying to deny his plane the right to land in Lago Agrio, which would completely screw up the whole day. There's probably 30 or 40 affected peoples in Lago Agrio airport right now waiting for his arrival, and a lot of journalists. It's very obvious Chevron is trying to block Roger Waters from coming into Ecuador because Chevron does not want Roger to learn the truth about Chevron's environmental crimes and fraud in this country. So right now we're trying to work through this problem and get Roger the permission he needs to land his charter in Lago Agrio so he can continue with his tour and inspect the damaged sites that Chevron left in Ecuador.
Me gustaría tener un mundo mucho más inclusivo para todos.
没有贫穷。
Στην ανθρωπότητα θα ήθελα να δω παραπάνω αγάπη, αγνότητα, πολιτισμό και επαφή με τη φύση.
Que el ser humano despierte su conciencia.
I want humanity to see itself as one humanity.
We are the people, a space, a voice. We are Telesur without borders.
We're back. Almost 3,000 people have been evacuated in Guatemala after the Fuego volcano erupted again. Authorities declared a red alert as security forces closed roads and helped with evacuations. In June, the Fuego volcano erupted, killing more than 300 people. Our correspondent in Guatemala, Santiago Botón, brings us more.
A red alert has been issued in the municipality of Escuintla for a new eruption of the Fuego volcano. Several rescue operation teams are working together to evacuate many families living near the volcano, which killed many people in June 2018. Rescue teams announced that 500 people have been evacuated already and say they are working on moving 2,000 people to Escuintla's stadium. Last night, local authorities of the Zacatepec and Escuintla departments held a meeting to coordinate evacuation procedures along with community authorities.
From Guatemala, that was Santiago Botón. Now to Costa Rica. It has entered its 11th week of general strike against the tax reform promoted by the government. It has been almost 3 months since workers are protesting the reform, as they say it punishes citizens. This is the country's longest strike in history. The National Assembly approved the government's measure, while the judiciary has questioned if it could hurt Costa Rica's financing. A week ahead of the G20 meeting in Argentina, Latin American leaders are speaking in the first worldwide forum on critical thinking. The former presidents of Argentina, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, and from Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, spoke on the first day. From Uruguay, José Mujica and Bolivia's Vice President, Álvaro García Linera, will also be part of the event. The theme is fighting for equality, social justice, and democracy. World leaders, intellectuals, and activists have gathered for the 4-day meeting to discuss social issues affecting the region. Rousseff, from Brazil, addressed the policies of the president-elect. And the Chilean government has recognized that Catrillanca was murdered by the police, the Mapuche leader. Following the announcement, there has been more protests and more police repression. In Temucucuy, clashes between community members and police have left at least 6 wounded, and those included a pregnant woman. Footage from a protester shows the moment of the repression. Mapuche people and social movements are urging authorities to be held responsible. The Bolivian army has shown the power and effectiveness of its own manufactured missiles, the B-1M1. President Evo Morales, with its defense minister, attended the military exercises, where over 8,000 soldiers have participated. Bolivia's army is currently celebrating its anniversary 208. People are protesting outside the Uruguayan ambassador's home in Lima after former president of Peru, Alan Garcia, applied for asylum in Uruguay. Demonstrators protested in support and against the former president. Garcia is under investigation for allegedly receiving bribes from the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht during the construction of Lima's subway system. Our correspondent Jaime Herrera has the latest on this case.
Former President Alan Garcia is staying at the Uruguayan ambassador's home for the second day in a row. He went there to apply for political asylum and is now awaiting the response on this request. This after a judge in Lima ordered that he not be allowed to leave the country for 18 months following the Attorney General's office investigation into Garcia for money laundering and corruption. The former president's lawyer said they decided to ask for asylum after they heard rumors that the Attorney General's office would ask for preventive detention for Garcia. Protests have been taking place outside the Uruguayan ambassador's home in Lima, and more protests are expected today. Meanwhile, Peruvian President Martín Vizcarra has said there is no political persecution in Peru and that all citizens should answer to the law. Meanwhile, local media outlets have started reporting on this story using headlines such as "Fugitive flees justice" and "He escapes for the second time."
That was Jaime Herrera from Peru. Now to Colombia, the public prosecutor has found a cyanide bottle in the house of a key witness in the Odebrecht case, who died last week. Jorge Enrique Pisano passed away of a heart attack 3 days before his son died after being poisoned. Authorities said they found cyanide in a plastic bag under a bathroom sink. Pisano had revealed in an interview that the General Attorney of Colombia knew about bribes involving the construction company Odebrecht. The ambassador of Venezuela in Cuba, Ali Rodriguez Araque, has died in Havana at age 81. Rodriguez Araque was Secretary General of UNASUR and President of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, Foreign Minister and President of the State Oil Company, PDVSA. He was also a Minister of Electricity in Venezuela. He was a former rebel who turned to politics and worked under the government of Hugo Chavez. We'll take one last short break, but stay with us.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Get Your Body. Tuesdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Workers of the judiciary system in Spain have held a strike this Monday to demand better wages and independence. Judges and prosecutors say the government headed by Pedro Sánchez from the Socialist Party hasn't made any improvements since May, when they also held a strike against the previous cabinet. Judges and prosecutors demand a direct dialogue with authorities. Thousands of judges and lawyers did not show up to work today. Also in Spain, the electoral campaign for the regional elections in Andalusia has kicked off. The leaders of the main 4 political parties have attended the first televised political debate. According to different surveys, a potential right-wing coalition among the Popular Party and Ciudadanos would not reach the majority to win the government over the ruling Socialist Party. These elections will be held on December 2nd. Turkey and Russia have opened the first part of their new gas pipeline known as the Turk Stream. Presidents Recep Tayyip Erdogan and Vladimir Putin have attended the inauguration ceremony in an event that marks a milestone in the cooperation between the two nations. The 930-kilometer-long underwater section of the pipeline crosses the Black Sea to supply gas to the Turkish market and as a way to transport it to Europe. Putin and Erdogan have also held a meeting to discuss bilateral issues.
Such projects are purely constructive in nature. Its objective is to develop relations between states, to create stable conditions for the development of the economy, and to improve the well-being of our citizens.
The Turkish Stream, together with our Russian friends, is a project that invested a lot of effort. From the point of view of relation between our countries and also from a geopolitical point of view among the countries of the region, this is a project that has a historical importance.
Romania's Minister of Defense, Mihail Fifor, has resigned in order to prepare for the 2020 parliamentary elections. Fifor previously discussed his decision with the Prime Minister Viorica Dancial and the leader of the Social Democratic Party. He has been Minister of Defense for a year. Before that, he was a Minister of Economy. Chinese President Xi Jinping has met Sultan Muda Hassan al Bolkiah during his official visit to Brunei. The Sultanate is seeking investments to control its debt. Initiatives promoted by Chinese companies include a multi-billion-dollar oil refinery, a dam, and a highway. Now let's look at other world stories.
At least 25 Palestinians have been injured by Israeli forces using tear gas during a rally in the Gaza Strip. Palestinians gathered in support of the flotilla Freedom Ship 16 that set sail from the port of Gaza to try and break the Israeli siege. Rocks were then thrown at the fans, leading to the Israelis firing tear gas. Those wounded and suffering from tear gas inhalation were rushed to the hospital. The siege of Gaza by land, sea and air began by Israel and Egypt in 2007 after the electoral victory of Hamas. A political opposition leader in Azerbaijan has been released from custody and ordered to pay a $1,500 fine for organizing a memorial march. Ari Karimli of the Popular Front Party was arrested during the march on Saturday in remembrance of those killed during the country's secession from the Soviet Union. After his release, he vowed to continue rallying in memory of those who died.
Our action was legitimate. Actually, the way those who tried to stop us act was illegal. Most importantly, we uncovered a traitorous plan with our persistence. They want to shut down Martyrs Avenue to the people.
The Sri Lankan president has apologized to Buddhisms after authorities used tear gas and water cannons against them as they gathered to demand the release of the Secretary General of Bodubala Sena, a nationalist organization. They had gathered to protest against the imprisonment of the Secretary General and demanding an audience with the president to hand over a written request for his release. The president has promised an investigation into the incident.
A roundup of what's happening around the world. Now we go to the United Nations. Its Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said violence against women is a human rights issue that has huge consequences for society. Speaking at an event to address violence against women, Guterres said this issue is a manifestation of failure by men to recognize inherent equality and dignity of all women.
Violence can take many forms, from domestic violence to trafficking, from sexual violence in conflict to child marriage, genital mutilation, and femicide. It is an issue that harms the individual, but also has far-reaching consequences for families and for the society.
And the UN General Assembly, through its third committee, has voted to adopt resolutions for the recognition of the rights of the campesinos. 119 countries voted in favor on this resolution, which campesinos organizations have been campaigning for. Only 7 voted against. The third committee is tasked to deliberate on issues relating to social, humanitarian affairs, and human rights. And that brings us to the end of this news brief, but you can check all of these stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And you can also like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. I'm Carla Gonzalez. Thank you very much for watching Telesur, connecting the Global South.